Hey guys, today we have a 2018/19 Tundra, and we're going to be doing 3 times the lock for the remote start. It's a regular H key, so we need a Blade AL, and we're going to use a 910S. We're not using the remotes, so we'll take the remotes out, save those for another install if we need. So here we go. There you go, now you have a key fob set for another vehicle. We're going to need to flash it and update the firmware, and I also changed the setting from tackless to tack. In the Blade menu, you also need to turn on 3 times the lock, and on the Tundras, I also turn on disarm/unlock before start. Otherwise, it can potentially set off the factory alarm. So in the Blade AL harness, we're going to need the white with black, white with red. You need pink, and then you're going to need can high, can low, which are brown with red, brown with yellow. Also need your orange with black for the SIL, and green with red, and gray with red. The rest you can trim short and tape up. I tied the secondary power harness in with this one right behind where it's fused, because this truck doesn't need more than 30 amps for the ignition anyway. So there's no sense in connecting both separately anyway. You still want to connect it. You just don't have to connect them separately. Now this is updated and flashed, and our settings are all set. Plug everything in. Alright, so the wires that are going to be going up to the steering column are going to be ignition, starter, accessory, and second ignition. So we can tape all those up together nice and tight so it looks neat. The 12 volts constant I actually get at the BCM. There's a large, it's probably about 100 amp wire that I connect to. And I run my ground and my SIL together to the ODB2 connector. So you need to tape those up together. The TPMS brake is in the kick panel on this truck. It's a pink wire. So the white with black, white with red, tape those up all the way down to the end and put butt connectors at the end. And what that allows is for the factory key fob to operate after the remote start is activated. And then everything else, which is going to be your parking lights, your RDA, can high and can low, tape those up a little ways so they go to the BCM. We're not going to do the auto light brake today. Sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't. Dealerships don't really care. I've never had a complaint yet, so until I do. And that's basically your prep for the 1819 Tundras. It's very similar to a lot of other Toyotas, so I'll bring you back in the truck. Hey guys, here we are in the truck. I'm just going to start taking it apart now. So also be careful with taking out the knee bolster down here, because it meets up with the center console really close to right over here, and it can scuff that a little bit. Also the airbag, I don't let it just hang down here. I kind of turn it sideways and tuck it up in here. That way it doesn't bang up against the center console and scratch that, or put undue pressure on the airbag plug. So now that I got everything apart that I need to take apart for this install, I will zip tie my brain up in here. Also, I zip tie it usually like this so that I can see the programming light on the blade. And I just zip tie it to this harness and leave this part up here loose so that I can pull it down and do any of the programming I need to, and I'll zip tie it once the install is finished securely so it doesn't rattle around. This Tundra has the power telescopic, whatever that word is, steering column. So I'll wrap it around down here, and then I'll open up this white part and feed it through here so that it doesn't get hung up on any of the moving mechanism in the vehicle. So I'll push back a little bit of the slack so that it has enough room to move forward and back, and then put a zip tie up here. You can also catch your parking lights and your auto light brake up here if you'd like. I generally don't though. I just catch it at the ECU or BCM. So in this truck, usually with the way I started is I pull the power fuse out, because we don't want the remote start to see any power yet. Pull out this large gauge wire, trim some of it back, and you can do a military splice on this wire, but you need to be very, very careful because this is a high current circuit. If you're not comfortable with doing this, you can also disconnect the battery under the hood. That way there's no current going through it, so you don't accidentally ground anything out. Then you need to be sure to tape it up really well. I save some of the factory sheathing so that I can tape that back over top of it, and then I zip tie it also. You can solder it if you like to, but since it's dealership work, they would rather me not solder it. Your TPMS brake connection is down here. It's going to be in this white plug down here. It's going to be the pink wire, clip side up, all the way to the right. It's one over. I don't remember what pin number it is. You can refer to your wiring diagram. Right here. And it's this wire right here. So we need to break that connection. And per normal, put it all back as neatly as you can and tape it up and zip tie. Next, I'll do my ground and SIL connection at the ODB2 connector. Oh, like most ODB, probably all ODB2 connectors, pin 4 is going to be your ground. This truck happens to be white with black, just like most Toyotas. And then the SLI on this truck is this light blue over here. So it'd be pin 7. Oh, if your Tundra doesn't have a chip in the key, if it's just a standard blank key, which is probably pretty rare in the US, you would ground this wire, I believe. Next, I'll make my connections at the BCM. On this one, it's a 3-plug BCM, so it's the center plug. Sometimes there's only one plug, sometimes there's 2, I believe. It just depends on what trim level of truck you have. This is one of those 1792 trucks, so it's got all the options. So this plug has can high, can low, RDA, and auto lights and parking lights. So can high is going to be blue, can low will be the white. RDA on this one is going to be the tan wires, pin 6. Parking lights on this truck is the light blue. It's going to be the same color up here at the switch plug as well. And then your auto lights on this truck is purple, which is also up here. Alright, so there's all our connections in this plug. We're going to tape it up again and plug it back in. when you plug it back in, make sure you hear the click, and you can pull on it a little bit just to make sure it's all the way seated. And ignition harness, I always put my finger on the end of the barrel up here, because these, they kind of wiggle around and they're not very sturdy feeling. And then I push the clip and pull with my right hand. Try to be careful not to slice these wires up whenever you do that. Also, I kind of stagger them as far as length whenever I cut them, so there's not just a big ball right in the middle of it. Starter is going to be this green wire. Also, always be sure to refer to your wiring diagram and use a multimeter if you are unsure. If you use the 7200 or 7000 brain, I believe you can use the low current harness from CompuStar instead of having to deal with these big wires, because the factory ones are all small gauge. I believe they're low current. Make sure install look a little nicer and it's easier to work with. So that was the black wire next to your start wire is actually second ignition. First ignition is going to be pin 1. It's like a light green wire. The CompuStar guide doesn't show accessory being hooked up, but generally I hook up accessory because back in the day, whenever I first got trained at Best Buy, they wanted us to emulate the key exactly. So accessory is going to be this red wire. But you don't have to hook that up. That's if the customer doesn't want the radio and some other accessories to turn on, just leave that disconnected and it should be fine. You need to be careful though on some older GM vehicles. Those definitely have to be hooked up. Alright, so all the connections are made. So what we need to do is put the fuse back in and do programming. So programming on this vehicle is rather easy. Get your brain down here so that you can see the light on the blade. Key in, turn it to the run position, but do not start. It's going to light up red and then turn solid blue. So once the light goes out, you can turn it off. Take the key out, and now you need to learn tack. So easiest way on this vehicle is apply the brake, start the vehicle, wait 30 seconds. After 30 seconds, the parking lights will flash. If you hooked up horn honk, the horn will probably honk, and you'll hear the relays click. So after that, you can let your foot off the brake and turn the key off. Alright, so I went out and I shut the hood so that the hood trigger does not affect it. My left hand is holding the door pin in the door sill, so the truck thinks that all the doors are shut. Press lock, and then in the dash you'll look for the car with the lock symbol on it. If it lights up solid, that means that the factory alarm is arming itself. It takes about 30 seconds for it to start to flash. If it starts flashing immediately, you either have a door open or the hood is open, or it doesn't have a factory alarm. Alright, it's flashing now, so I'll do 1, 2, 3. Then you wait, you'll hear the door unlock, ignition comes on, it'll start. Once it's running, the doors will relock, and now it is remote started. To do takeover on this vehicle is very easy. You just walk up to the vehicle, press unlock. Now that won't work if you do not do the TPMS brake in the kick panel, so make sure you do that if you want the factory key fob to work once it's remote started. And then you can open the door, get in, key in, accessory, run position, and now the remote start is still active until you put your foot on the brake. As soon as you put your foot on the brake, you'll hear the relays turn off, and then you'll be able to put it in gear and drive away. So now that the remote start is off, you can take the key out and you're good to go. And that is a 2018/19 Tundra. They're all about the same. So have a good day. If you have questions or anything, comment, subscribe, and I'll try to help you out.